Hi everybody, welcome back to Spiritual Springboard for today's talk about health and wellness. Over the course of the last few years, God has really been shedding some light into this area and how our current society's understanding of health and wellness needs a perspective shift. And what I mean by that is this, as people, the human condition is that there are going to be problems in our life. However, as a society, we've gotten to this point whenever there's a problem, we run as quick as we can to find the quick fix, whatever that looks like, because we want that pain and that suffering and that challenge to end as quick as we can so we can move on. However, that kind of mentality doesn't serve us, and in reality it actually further harms us. Just think for a minute of yourself. Whenever you have a headache, you immediately reach for the Tylenol or Advil or whatever. When we have some kind of pain in our body, most people run to the doctor for a prescription. All of those things actually only put a band-aid on our symptoms, and they don't get to the root of why there is discord in the physical, mental, spiritual, relationship, financial plane in our life. So that's what I want to talk to you about today, is shifting our current get quick fix band-aid mentality into a broader spiritual perspective. I like to do that by sharing a story with you that many of you may have heard, to use as an analogy. There was a man who lived in a home who was given a warning to evacuate his home because a flood was coming. He chose to stay in his house, faithing that everything would be okay. As the waters rose to his porch, his neighbor came by with a canoe and was like, "Hey, you need to get in, the waters are rising." The guy says, "Nope, thanks anyway, but God's got me, I'm okay." As the waters continue to rise, he's forced to his second story. Once he's up there, he's looking out the window and a police boat comes by saying, "Sir, you need to evacuate, get in the boat. Your house is going to be washed away." He's like, "No, thanks anyway. God's got me. I'm believing in God's miracles." As the waters rise, he has no other choice but to climb to the peak of his roof. Once he's up there, a helicopter comes, drops the ladder, saying, "Sir, please climb the ladder into the helicopter. You have to evacuate or it's not going to be good for you." The guy again refuses. He says, "I'm believing in God's miracles. I know he can save me." The house ends up washing away. He ends up dying. He's standing in heaven, frustrated. He's like, "God, I had faith that you were going to save me. What the heck?" And God says, "Dude, I sent you a warning. I sent you a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. What more could have I done?" He says, "Your stubborn, closed-minded mentality prevented you from seeing the miracles that I was sending your way to help save you." Now, how many times when we talk about our health and wellness do we do the same thing? Instead of asking for God's help, number one, we just immediately reach for the pill bottle, the prescription. Some people reach for the bottle or the marijuana or whatever it is to just cover and mask the pain and suffering that's going on in our world. So to shift this perspective away from that quick fix, away from that band-aid, we need to look at a new perspective in 3 areas. Number one is this: there are no coincidences. Now, a lot of you might be going, "Oh, I've heard that before." But seriously, everything that is happening to you in your life right now is by divine design. And I'm not saying that God is saying, oh, I want that person to have cancer and I want this person to have a bad relationship. He doesn't do that. He wants us all to be well. He wants us to have a life of joy. But what ends up happening is we block that from happening in our own lives, and we don't even realize we're blocking it because usually it's on like a soul level, or it's on a level of our actions, our words, our thoughts that actually create whatever is going on in our lives. Now you might say to yourself, well, why would I create a bad relationship for myself? Consciously, you would not. But if we raise our consciousness into the soul level, the soul is trying to tell you something through your pain and suffering. And that's where the shift has to occur. Whenever you get a warning sign, whether it's a fight with your spouse or a headache or a little bump in the road with your finances, that instead of reaching for the quick fix, this is where your soul is saying, hey, something is out of balance. Let's take a minute and pause and see what is at the root of the imbalance and what's going on in your life. If we only cover it with a Band-Aid, the root is still there and the source is still there. So even God, in an instant, we've seen him deliver a healing on somebody, or deliver someone out of financial problems, or deliver somebody's marriage and restore it. But a lot of times, even when he does that, a few months down the road, a few years down the road, an illness returns. You can just, even the people who've won the lottery, the majority of them go back to their financial hardships. The relationship starts having a problem again. Or there's something that else shows up in their life that's not so great because the root has not been healed. So God sometimes will grace us through a healing, hoping that through that healing, we'll be able to see his miracles manifested and start looking in and start getting in touch with the spiritual side of ourselves to heal whatever is out of whack. Now, most of the time, what's out of whack are things like an old belief pattern that's not serving us anymore, behaviors that we are doing that are not for our highest good. It could even be a habit that we've been doing ever since we were a little kid that's been put on us by our family that we are not even consciously aware because it's in our subconscious. So those little warning signs are trying to uproot these things in our life and in our soul that are not serving us anymore. And that's why there are no coincidences. Our soul arranges these things to show up to kind of wake us up so that we can heal from the inside out. And that does take some courage because not everyone wants to look in and resurface some of those things that they've been pressing down for so long. So it's going to take some courage to actually pause and to look in. If we choose not to do that, then the Bible states very clearly, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. And the knowledge is the inner knowledge and the knowledge of your soul and its connection to the spiritual realm that causes us to either live abundantly and in a fascinating, joyous way, or causes us to perish. So that's our first shift in perspective.